So, Kylie, thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining me today. We will get started. So, I'm here today with Kylie Fennell, and she is going to be talking to us. She's on our publishing panel, so I'm very excited for that. And honestly, the publishing side of things, we've had author talks the last couple of years that have spoken about people's behind the scenes of their stories and about getting better with the craft of writing. This is our first time with a big publishing panel, so I am so happy that you're there because
Ooh.
this is where, like, this is the point where most people don't know what's happening. And so for me, this is something I'm really excited about. So tell us a bit about
Yeah.
the journey that's brought you to publishing and self-publishing.
Right. So, I think my story is probably similar to a lot of people that all I ever wanted to do was write since I was little, like, crazy about, started with the Enid Blyton books and kind of read everything, Arthurian stuff, just kind of read anything
Yes.
I could get my hands on. And back then, of course, back in the old days, they didn't have a lot of stuff written specifically for young adults. So I'd read a lot of my mum's books and I just read so much. And all I wanted to do was write and I wanted to write books. And so I actually ended up in journalism. And that was my first kind of job after doing a uni degree. And then kind of ended up in the dark side, which is marketing and PR. So that's been
Ah,
my day job for
is that
all
not
that
where
time.
I feel like we all end up there a bit, don't we?
We do. It's basically everything's connected when it comes to communications and writing, and everyone's got, yeah, there's a lot of us out there. So that never scratched my itch though when it came to writing a book. So I think probably back in 2008, juggling full-time job, kids, started writing a book.
Yep.
And what I thought was groundbreaking young adult fantasy novel, never been done before. Yeah, obviously it has been, and was actually was there was a lot of books out there that were starting to really get some momentum. But I was just doing my own thing. And I started doing courses at the time as well to develop my craft. So it's been a long time coming. And I kind of guess I did my apprenticeship by doing lots of courses through writers' centres, just writing, talking to other writers, going to conferences, doing anything I could to learn my craft. And I think it was probably nearly 10 years later that I actually said, okay, I'm going to do this seriously. I think now I've got a good handle on what I need to be doing. And next step is publishing. And I took an opportunity to pitch my novel at a writers' conference called GenreCon,
Yes.
which is yeah, the Queensland Writers Centre run it every year, and
A
totally
fantastic
recommend it.
conference.
Anyone who's interested in genre, so fantasy, crime, sci-fi, any genre fiction, it's definitely a great conference. So I took a pitching up there, and I thought my work was ready. The pitch went quite well. She wanted to see the full manuscript, but then she gave me some feedback that, funnily enough, it was not unique enough, that there were other stuff out there that was similar. She didn't use the word derivative. It was not. She was quite happy with it, but she said she'd have trouble pitching it because it was kind of same but not different enough to a lot of other things out there. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that when you go into publishing is that if you're a brand new name, a publisher is looking for you to be, where am I going to put you on the shelf?
Yes.
And first thing they're going to do is a publishing house, like a traditional house, one of the big five or whatever, is going to go, okay, do I have an existing author on our books who can fill this gap?
Yep.
We need a book that's about, I don't
This.
know, zombies set in Regency England, which has been done. But
Hmm.
if that's the book they're looking for, they first of all they're going to look to their existing authors. Second, then if they have to go out and look for a brand new author, they've got to find the exact right author that fits that exact box and has the exact right book for that moment.
Yep.
So there is I would say, a lot of luck involved in getting a traditional publisher. Obviously, you need talent, you need to be able to write. There's lots of things you need, but you also need to be in the right place at the right time and have the exact right book that the publisher's looking for.
I was just saying this with the previous person I was interviewing, is you've got to put yourself in the path of opportunity so it can trip over you.
Exactly. And that I also, at the same time, I was dead set, I want to try to get a traditional publisher because I didn't understand the publishing business. And I also, I'll be completely honest. There's a bit of vanity and ego in having a traditional publisher and
100%.
saying, "Look at my book in Dymocks." Because
Someone
one of the
deemed my
only
book so worthy that I can now be in Woolworths.
exactly, and like let's be honest, that to get into the major booksellers, like you get into your Targets and Big W's and Kmart's and Dymocks, Qubit eBooks, all of those that are selling the majority of print books in Australia, to get into any of those places, 99% of the time you're going to need, at scale, you're going to need a major publisher behind you.
Yes.
And I wanted that. And so I went down the path and I set myself a rejection goal because I figured
That's
the more
so
times
bold.
you get,
I love it.
the more times you put yourself out there and get rejected, and occasionally you'll actually get constructive feedback, which you can actually use to fix your pitch letter, actually review your writing. Like there's any feedback you can get is gold.
Yeah.
And sometimes no feedback is still feedback.
Yes.
So I set myself this goal, and I think one particular year, I think it was 50 rejections, and I hit it.
Yeah.
50 rejections.
And from different publishers, or were you just going back to the same ones?
Look, I did my research. It was all different publishers and competitions, and I did my research. I went on to places like readsy.com and looked for opportunities and publishers, and I wasn't just hitting up any old publishers. Now, this makes my work sound like rubbish, but the reality of it is extremely competitive.
Not only is it competitive, but if you just catch someone on the wrong day, like if they're not in the mood for that one, gone, rejected.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
So fickle.
It is fickle. And I got really close with a very big agent in the United States, and I was so excited. And that was kind of, I guess, my last ditch attempt. But in the meantime, I've got beta readers. I'm continually refining the manuscript. I've got, I'm entering competitions and getting feedback from competitions. And I'm getting all really positive feedback. But it kept coming back to, you know what? So I'll give you an example. A comparison title for my YA fantasy series is Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass series.
Yeah.
I didn't know when I wrote it that was a comparison title because I hadn't read it yet. But then I read it and I totally saw it. And it's not like a carbon copy because I had never even read the series. It's just a similar kind of, there wasn't anything new enough for a publisher to go, we can see people would like to read this, but we need something completely unique to stand out in the marketplace.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize that you don't have to be so unique that no one has ever written that before. But you do have to be unique enough that the characters can build a love and a passion for the characters. They don't just feel like, oh, this is scratching the itch until the next season of this comes out. So it's like when you're doing your Game of Thrones ones, don't just carbon copy everyone and base it off the War of Roses. If you're doing your Witcher ones, don't make it about a mercenary group who use magical potions from childhood to make themselves fight monsters better.
Exactly.
And when you do it, like, I think romance is the only one that you can carbon copy. You can put new names and have a shake up of the sex scenes if you've got sex scenes in it, or the romance scenes. But romance is the only one where you can have that, okay, these are the beats, they're very stable, they're very sturdy. This is precisely what people are after, just with different flowery words. And maybe
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I think it's a really good point. Like, romance writers are typically quite voracious. They can't get enough of it, and they are expecting certain tropes, and some tropes are more popular than others.
Mm-hmm.
But, I would also say, at the end of the day, if you want to sell books, you probably want to tend to write commercial fiction.
Yes.
And even in commercial fiction, there are certain beats you still need to hit. You just don't want to do it in the exact same way someone else has done it.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
You still want to, there's an expectation that you'll still hit something exciting is going to happen at the midpoint, and all of these beats you want to hit. And there's tropes that we still all love, like in fantasy. There's still the chosen one trope, and there's still
you chuck dragons anywhere in there.
Put a dragon in a story and I'm sold.
Yeah, a dragon and a witch and I'm happy.
So I guess I'd gone through the whole path. So this is a really long way to say I tried the traditional publishing route, got close, and knew that I had something that people would like to read, but knew it was that particular series was never going to be unique enough to get off the ground with a traditional publisher.
Yeah.
So that's when I looked to self-publishing. And I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I like
Good
to
be.
know. I like to know exactly what I need to do. I researched it to the nth degree. I did courses, I did webinars, I did everything, and I figured out the actual logistics, how to actually publish a book, get an editor, get a book cover designer, get a proofreader. And those two people, the editor and proofreader, should be separate people.
Mm-hmm.
All of the logistics of doing that, and how do I then typeset it? What software do I need? Get a professional book cover designer, like all of the things. I think I ended up with a spreadsheet with 80 different rows in it with links to instructions for each of them.
Oh, that's what I've done. Oh, yeah.
Google Docs.
Yes. You know what? Excel sheets are one of my favorite things.
I feel like when I have that much information behind me, I felt like I could go into it with confidence. And now my checklist is only one page, and I know enough now that I can just, for each book, I know that I've got to do X, Y, Z in this order. So to do that, I also am like, okay, I want my product to look as professional as possible. I want somebody to pick it up. They may not be picking it up in Dimmicks, but if they ever see it, I want them to go, geez, that looks like it's professional.
Yeah.
Like they don't know the difference. So I decided that I should also have my own publishing imprint.
Beautiful.
And I came up with my own. Well, I got a logo done with a professional designer. My publishing imprint is called Lorikeet Ink, as in INK. And as a trial run, I'd also wasn't my trial run, but the first publishing gig I did. I got together with a bunch of 14 other writers I'd met at GenreCon, and we put together a anthology of our stories, and we ran it like the most professional outfit we could, and published Lighthouse.
I have that one here.
Lighthouse, yes.
Yeah, hang on.
That's it.
Yeah, I think I can't remember where I was up to. Which one was yours? Hang on.
Mine was called Broken Things, and there's a Arctic fox, and I'm about halfway through the book.
Which ones have I read? I think I read Last
You may not
Light.
have got that far.
No, I don't think I've gotten that far. But I know a few people from here. So I know Carlton. I know you.
Yep.
I know Joe.
Oh, do you know Joe?
Yeah, I know. I think I'm Facebook friends with Joe.
Joe's my book cover designer.
Oh, no way.
She did that design, and she's done all of my book covers. That's her day job. Her day job's a professional designer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so, no, this is the second book down. So what I like to do is anyone that I got this from the online GenreCon when they did I think it was the 2021 one. Yes, yeah. So I got that from this one. I got this from that one. And it's on my pile of fiction that I.
And there's another one.
Ooh. Oh, that looks beautiful.
Forbidden Doors is the second one we did.
That looks so good. I definitely need a copy of that. But yeah, what I like to do is anyone that gives me fiction or anyone that gives me their books, I will put them on my pile of either nonfiction or fiction. And then as I go through them, I put reviews up on my YouTube channel.
Oh, that's awesome. I think it's so hard though as a reader and a writer, and you want to support other writers so much, and you're always acquiring new books, and that to be read pile just never gets smaller.
So I've got my indies over here, and my nonfiction blends together. But then I have the books that people are like, oh my God, Rhiannon, you've got to read this book. So I've got most of the Terry Pratchett series here, as well as, so you can see this pile actually finishes down here. So yeah, I've
Yeah.
got Terry Pratchett series, the Discworld series, and I got The Witcher for Christmas, and then
Yeah.
on top of that pile, I have my very, very, very old Kindle.
Oh,
So when
wow.
people send me ebooks, it goes on to that part of the pile. But
Yeah.
when you're writing
Yeah.
voraciously, especially if you're doing something like romance, or if you're doing fast publishing,
Yeah.
you don't really have time to read. I really wish I had more time to read. I have time to
No.
audiobook, but I don't have time to read.
Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting point, that if you do go down the self-publishing route, and so what I mean by that is, even if you, there are services out there that are probably a hybrid model, where you can go to a publisher and you might pay them a fee for service. You might pay them a fee to publish your book and do all the things. So maybe you don't want to know how to do all the things that I do. And that's not up for everyone, but you haven't been able to go down the traditional publishing route, or choose not to. So you can go to a hybrid publisher, but you still have to do all of your own marketing and stuff. And
Yes.
it's still considered an indie route. And if you are an indie author and you want to do this as a living, or one day do it as a living, you have to pump those books out.
Yes.
You have to. That is the difference. Like, a traditional publisher might let you get away with one book a year or one every 2 years. You need to get, if you can only do one a year as an indie author, so be it, but you need to build that backlist to a
Yes.
point where you've got 14 to 20 books to see. And this is the kind of bad news you probably don't want to hear. It doesn't mean don't do it. It just means be aware, if you want to make a living out of this, you might need to do a fast publishing schedule, or at least give yourself time to build a backlist, so readers can then go, hey, I read book 1 and I want to read the next book. So series are awesome for this.
Yes.
I want to read book 3, I want to read book 4, and they're not going to sit around and wait unless they're already invested in you. Otherwise they'll move on to the next author.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably been a learning for me. So when I eventually did publish my own books, I had 3 ready to go, 3 full-length novels ready to go, and I went month 1, month 2, month 3. I haven't been able to keep up that momentum because I'd written those books over a series of years.
Yep.
I did 4 books within 12 months, full-length novels and a novella.
Yep.
But the next year, it's been one. We're looking at one a year at the moment, and I can, in complete honesty, you can see that the level of interest and KNP, like Kindle Unlimited reads and everything, just starts doing this. So
Yes. Yeah, they have a half-life.
they
But
do.
I find that, so when it comes to doing your own publishing, having a backlist is essential. And it's one of the reasons that it's so important to nurture those 1,000 true fans, as per the Kevin Kelly article, 1,000 true fans that will buy anything from you every single year. And then as you add to your backlist, you add to your fans. And then
Yes.
all of those people will buy the previous books. So you'll get these little spikes coming through of everyone grabbing the whole set or the whole
Yeah.
series. It's just like there's a format
It's a
to
long
this.
game.
It's a long game, but it's
It's a long
also a
game.
retirement plan because after you get to about 20 books, you should be able to earn about $50,000 a year. Now, I think that's
Yeah.
50,000 US, as per the 20 books
Mm.
to 50K series,
Yeah.
which I love. I absolutely love it. But yeah, I think there's an element of haste when it comes to get to those 20 books however you need to, because not only does that make your writing exponentially better, to have written and edited all of those books, but you also find your voice. You can only find your voice through writing, and then you're able to market them authentically, attract the people that love your stuff, and continue to sell that on. And when you're indie published, you get all of that. All of that is yours.
Yeah.
No one gets a cut out of that.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think I'm so glad with the path I've taken. I would never say that I would never take a traditional publishing contract. Like, if someone wants to offer me, just say, if you want to offer me $2 million to write a bestseller, I'm your girl.
I always say
But
if they want to pay me $80,000 a year, I'll write about 5 to 7 books a year.
yeah, so it's all doable. And I don't want to scare everyone and go, look, like 20 books must seem overwhelming to people still working on their first book, but this is just one path and one way of doing things. And if you're just wanting to, I guess follow Rhiannon's advice, just write, and build it and hope, and they will come. If it's a good enough product, if you're going to do this yourself without going through an imprint or a hybrid publisher, please try, if you can, invest in some things that are really, I see as important. Like if you can get someone, a professional book designer, because people do judge books based on their cover. If you can invest in that, I would totally recommend it. And my editor, oh my gosh, she has just been a godsend to me, a decent editor and a good proofreader. And maybe your proofreader's not your mum or your husband.
No, they can't. Don't let them be friendly with you. You're better off getting a proofreader that's your worst enemy. Someone really critical.
Yeah. So for me, they're the biggest costs for me. The rest of it's, I personally invested in some software so I could typeset my own books. Other than that, yeah, I use Vellum because I've got a Mac.
Yeah, I'm not a
if
Mac
you don't
person.
have a Mac, I hear people have used Atticus on a PC.
Yes, yeah, Atticus is one that comes highly recommended. I still use Word, but I have gotten my stuff into a template. So I know like the title comes up when I select title. It will come up as a particular font. When I select heading 1, it comes up as a particular font. When I select all the other bits and pieces, heading 2, subtitle, normal text, it will come up in a particular way. And then it's really just mucking around with the sections because I am a monster and give myself images and coded letters and the back. Like my books are not simple in any form because they've got lots of extra bits in them. But the sections need to be separated. So yeah, there's all of that. But you become a master in it.
And it's completely possible. There are definitely free tools out there. So the only ones I would say don't skimp on, if this is not something you have skills, like professional skills in, book cover design, editor, and a proofreader.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. The difference is stark, and I think I've recently seen some really clear examples of it. So if you've got a really beautiful book, if the cover is amazing and you know it's amazing because people are clicking on it, and your synopsis works and your keywords are all good, like all those 3 things taken care of, good marketing will reveal if your book is good or not. And if you are averaging under 3 stars, you need to take it back off and re-edit it and see what the problem is, or market it to a different group. Because if you're marketing super saucy, spicy romance to conservative Christian, men, no, that's not going to work.
Problem.
Yeah.
I think that's some really good advice. Yeah. At the end of the day, people tell you not to pay attention to reviews, but I wouldn't pay attention to a single review and let that be a barometer for all of your. But as you say, as a whole, if people are not liking it,
pay attention to the stars, not the words. I get one of my proofreaders to have a look at the words part for me, and if there's any validity to what's said, they relay that information back better.
That's good.
Yeah, it's so much better. And they only, when I'm having a down day, I'll just click 5-star reviews and then have a look at all the 5-star reviews.
So it does make you feel better, and sometimes you will get, especially on Goodreads, because it is open to all and sundry, you will get just people who are just vicious and mean.
And then they leave a 5-star review.
Well, but sometimes they'll leave like a 2-star review and you're like, oh, I love this. And then they give you 2 stars. And you go, really mean.
Why have you done this? And you get some people and they're very critical and then they leave 5 stars and you're like, why have you done this? But one of the funniest things you can ever do is go and look at classic literature on Goodreads
Yeah.
and look at the 1-star reviews. They are hilarious. It is so funny. They go
Yeah.
and look at the 1-star reviews for Pride and Prejudice and The Great Gatsby and I don't know, other
Yeah.
really popular books, because they are absolutely scornful,
Yeah.
and it's so funny that yeah, people are sometimes just very obtuse, or they have a very unique perspective that you're like, I get that, but you've missed the point.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's. I think occasionally you need to do stuff like that because it is hard. You're putting your words out to the world, and it's like, please judge
You're
me.
bearing your soul. You're bearing what feels like part of your soul.
Yeah.
Um, I think that if you are finding though that your reviews are getting to you, and they're not good feedback. So if you have marketed to the wrong people, and you've
Mm.
wrote a super witchy book and you're marketing it in a really Catholic sphere, or if you've written a
Yeah.
feminist book and you're marketing
Yeah.
it to tradies, uh,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. You really miss the mark.
Yeah.
Or heaven forbid, you write
Yeah.
something that's got a lot of sex and you market it to teenagers and the parents
Yeah.
find out. So there's a few things you just don't do. But if you
Yeah.
are finding that you've marketed it to the
Yeah.
right people, and you're getting down, um, it's good to acknowledge that you're really just a conduit for the story. You are what the story's passed through, and you can separate yourself from that. It's not you. It's, whatever higher power, or energy, or fleeting bit of you that was present at the time, that is now not you. It is
Yeah.
separate, and it is for the
Yeah.
world to enjoy and
Yeah.
consume. So staying a bit back from that
Yeah.
helps keep you protected in those moments of vulnerability.
Yeah. And you can always go write something new.
Oh, and you can, if you're self-published, you can just re-edit what you've already written.
Oh, look, and I think that's you see it all the time. Like I follow a fantasy romance author, Tasonja Odette.
Mm-hmm.
She's an indie and she's done incredibly well from what I could tell. And she's just re-released, I think, her first series with all brand new covers.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
she has done some edits to them, I believe, but just refreshed it. She's
Yep.
completely refreshed it, and it's given her a whole second bite of the cherry.
Oh, yes. And you know
Yeah.
what? I actually did the same thing. And I'm going back and re-editing my first book, because it's not the standard of writing that I needed it to be at. It's not conveying the story the way that I wanted it conveyed anymore. So I redid the covers, the synopsis, the keywords, and now I'm going back and re-editing. But I realized that a lot of people think, oh, well, if you're traditionally published or if you're real published, you can't do that. The first Harry Potter book has had so many different editions where they have gone back,
Mm.
and if you have a first edition uh, Philosopher's Stone book, it actually has specific typos, or some of them will have
Oh wow.
pages in wrong, or like that sort of stuff, and it is worth tens of thousands of dollars now. And so traditional
Collector's edition.
publishers absolutely go back, and it just takes, their reprints take much longer than ours because we're
Yeah.
printing books between 30 and 100. They're printing books in the tens of thousands, so their next refresh takes a lot longer to get through than ours. So they absolutely go back and re-edit the work if they find that there's mistakes, or if they find that something is unnecessarily problematic. You can see they just take it out.
Yep.
They'll
Yep.
just omit it entirely if something is, not crucial to the story. Like there's been particular slurs that have been changed. There's been, yeah, all sorts of things get changed with traditional publishing. So it's very interesting to see what the next adaptation has.
Yeah. I think and the beauty of self-publishing is I personally just love the level of control you have
Yes.
over,
Yeah.
like that you can do all those things when you want to. You don't have to ask anyone's permission, and like you take, I guess, you own all the risk. Usually, the biggest risk is I guess all what you put into it mostly is time.
Yes.
And energy. The biggest risk usually is the time that you've invested in it.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's often worth the risk, and any benefits you get out of it, you 100% get, as you say. You get all the money comes to you. If there's money to be had, you get it. So
yes.
I love that, and for me, it's definitely a long-term plan. I want to build that backlist and get those 1,000 true fans. That's my number one priority. And yeah, I think it's definitely a good path to take for anyone who's got a very clear idea of what they want to achieve and wants to have some control over it, and have already ruled out traditional publishing for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yep. And that can be for all sorts of reasons too. Traditional publishers still have their place, but I do think that people now know that, and there's less gatekeeping on particular social topics. So, you know, they very rarely do you see them whitewashing all the characters or changing the sexuality of the characters anymore, because representation is in. Which is very nice, but that's at the risk of changing at any moment. So you are at the behest of the publisher if they want to change these things and adapt them. Whereas when that comes directly from you, you can be true and authentic to the story you wanted to tell in the first place.
Yeah, and I love that, and I think, and things are always changing. Like I think it's going to be very interesting, without going into too much detail around AI and stuff, but it's going to be interesting. We expect to see a lot more content hitting the marketplace.
Yeah, I think that it's going to open up a market for real. So we didn't have to classify that in the past, but I think watching someone genuinely write the story, so live streaming the writing of it as proof that you genuinely wrote the story, will be that will be a trend that will come up. And it'll be like what they do in France with photoshopped models. They have to say on every photo that has more than, I think, 4% or like more than a certain percentage of the model photoshopped, they have to disclose it and then say Photoshop used or something like that, but in French.
Exactly.
And I think that the same thing will happen with writing. But these tools are for us to use. So
productivity tools.
Yeah, the more we use them, the more we can find where we want them and where they belong, rather than allowing people who are not authors to come in and pretend to be authors or to pretend that they are legitimate without having gone through that imagination.
Yeah, and look, it is a craft, and to be a real person creating real words, I think the best thing we can do to future-proof ourselves is, one, as you say, prove we're a real person or a real author, but have people invested in it. So building that community, whether building a community for you means having a really strong social media following, or whether it means starting a Wattpad kind of fan fiction or whatever that is. Start building a community now, so people are invested in you as a person first, you as the author first, and they'll buy anything you write.
Yes.
And that's how we future-proof.
Yeah.
And that's how you get that, as you say, 1,000 true fans is the basis of. They will do all the marketing for you.
Yes. Yeah. I was speaking with someone just before, and being authentic. It was yesterday, actually. Being authentic it gets thrown around a lot, especially with marketing. Oh, be authentic in your marketing. And then you have a bunch of authors saying, oh, well, I don't want to do marketing unless I'm authentic. But you have to know yourself to be authentic. And you have to know deeper parts of yourself in order to understand what that projection looks like. And when you hit that point, your work speaks for itself.
I think you're right. And I think for each person, you might be going, oh, well, I hear everyone should be on TikTok now. Well, if I think there's two parts to it. It's like, first of all, you should do what feels right to you and that you're comfortable doing. Yes, you're going to have to push yourself sometimes out of your comfort zone. But if you are like, I absolutely never, ever want to do a TikTok video, it terrifies me beyond Jesus. Like, if there's something else that, if Facebook's more your thing, then the second part of it is, okay, is my audience there?
Yeah.
If my audience is on Facebook and I'm way more comfortable with Facebook, double down on that.
Yeah.
Build your community there. Build a Facebook group there. If doing, serializing fiction on Wattpad and building a community there is something that appeals to you, but you don't have to do a funny dance or whatever it may be, then double down on that. Double down on what you feel is authentic, or that part of it feels authentic and real to you, and you have some element of comfort, that you're not having to push yourself to do something that does not feel right.
Yeah.
And finding your audience in the same place, that's the key. And double down on it.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to be on every single platform.
No,
you don't need to.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time you can be on your main platform and then repurpose the content to go across all of them. So be on the one that you find the most fun, have your handles for the others, and then just sort of trickle it along them. It will not be as effective, but it helps give your website backlinks, and it gives you a whole bunch of other good stuff along with that. But you don't have to be on them to shunt your other stuff onto them.
No. And so find something where your people are that, as you say, gives you some level of joy, or So
100%.
And I'm always trying new things and then going, actually, that's not for me.
Yeah. And sometimes you can bulk things as well. So it's like you might try something and be like, oh yeah, no, I'm really like, I'm grooving on with this and this is really good. And then you get burnt out and you're like, oh, like I can't even look at another TikTok right now. I'm just too tired. And then you come back to it, later. And if you have scheduled a whole bunch of content across the 6 months it took you to come back to it, then you can just bulk again and schedule again.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think I developed, I am on TikTok, but I'm only I haven't put a lot of videos up yet, but I did one kind of couple of hours and I just did a whole bunch of videos. I actually changed outfits in between.
Yes. I was trained as an acupuncturist, and so I was doing a bunch of informational videos, and I just brought like 3 different shirts to the same one and did like 50 videos.
Yeah. So mix it up, but I did it all in one go, and so now I've got a whole bunch I can start putting out. But at the moment, I'm kind of personally just reviewing how I want to use TikTok, because I do see a place for me there, but it's not. I haven't nailed where I'm comfortable in it yet.
Yeah.
So
and
it may
takes
not
time.
Be.
Yeah.
So, but bulking definitely, and sitting down and going, oh, why don't I find 20 posts about XYZ and have them ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've scheduled them out far enough, or if you can repeat posts as well, because honestly, only 1% of your audience ever sees anything on social media these days. So you can definitely repeat them over and over again in order to get good traction. But you have to find what works for your audience. So this is all trial and error specifically for you and your author career.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Kylie. This has been fantastic. And I am so looking forward to seeing you on the publisher panel. It is going to be one of the most incredible panels I think we've had.
No, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the whole festival and meeting a whole bunch of other writers and publishers. And it's I always find it so reinvigorating after talking to other authors, because your family don't get it.
No, it's like running a business. The same with the Chamber of Commerce. You need to speak with people that are in the same trenches as you.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's been great chatting to you.
It's been fantastic to talk to you too, Kylie. We will see you on the 9th and 10th of, I was going to say September. It was September last year. It's June this year. It's June, people. June. 9th and 10th of June at the Logan West Community Centre. Oh, have a fantastic day, and we will catch up with you then.
Great. Thank you, Rhiannon.